Welcome to The Growth Shift, the podcast where we unlock the psychological and strategic blueprints of predictable growth. If you've built a successful business, you know the truth. Your expertise is high value, but your time is finite. The question is, how do you sustain that success without sacrificing your most valuable asset? We believe that the next level of success requires a strategic pivot, a fundamental shift that moves beyond the old ways. In every episode, we dive into the critical turning points of industry leaders and uncover how they're leveraging AI not as a shortcut, but as the strategic force for their next growth shift. Today, we dive in with a leader who is defining the future of their industry. This episode is brought to you by Valentix, your strategic growth partner. At Valentix, we believe that trust and authentic relationships are the only true currency in high-value business. We challenge the status quo by building an AI-powered client acquisition engine that enhances your human connection, helping you move beyond the slow growth of referrals. Our AI-powered systems eliminate the grind, allowing you to break through the noise, build high-value relationships, and free up your time to focus on transformative client impact. If you're ready to build a predictable growth engine, learn more at valentix.io. Now let's dive into today's episode. Kristy. Today on The Growth Shift, we're joined by Kristy Tupper, a leader who has masterfully navigated the complexities of the corporate world to forge her own path in strategic innovation. With a rich background in corporate healthcare, product management, and business analysis, Kristy spent years as the get-it-done girl, solving intricate problems across various departments. This journey led her to a pivotal realization. Her true passion lies in solving problems for people, driven by purpose rather than just profit. As the founder of Open Concept Strategy and Innovation, Kristy now leverages her extensive experience to empower entrepreneurs and small to medium-sized businesses, helping them build solid foundations and achieve sustainable success. Her unique perspective, bridging corporate acumen with an entrepreneurial spirit and keen eye for AI's impact, offers invaluable insights for leaders seeking to align their passions with purpose and drive meaningful growth. Kristy, welcome to The Growth Shift.
Thank you, David. I'm so excited to be here.
Great to have you on today. Kristy, you have an extensive background in corporate healthcare, product management, and business analysis, and you spent years being the get-it-done girl for others, solving complex problems across various departments. Tell us more about that foundational journey and how it ultimately led to what you're doing today with Open Concept Strategy and Innovation.
Sure. I started my career out of college with EDS. I don't know if you remember the old electronic data systems company. I got a lot of exposure there. It was a big company, one of the tech behemoths of its time. And I spent 15 years there and got to know a lot of different sides of the business. And when I got into business analysis and then management consulting, I really got to understand people and how important people were to the process and how important it was not just to create a system, create requirements, but to understand what they actually need. And there's an old, I don't know if you've ever seen it, there's an old cartoon out there that's, what the customer asked for, and it's a big rocket ship. And when you get down to it, it's what they actually needed was a tire swing. And so that really resonated with me. And I really started to want to understand more about people and how you understand what they actually need and how you actually serve them by solving a problem for them. Because that's, in the end, that's all anybody is doing when they're being productive or they're being helpful or they're earning an income, you're solving somebody else's problem, whether it's getting your hair cut or it's redesigning a window on a screen so that the user flow is better.
Now, Kristy, business at its core is for people by people, right? And you mentioned that you realize that people are one of the most important factors as part of a process. It sounds like maybe there's a lot of companies out there who are losing sight of that, who have lost sight of that. Why is that?
Because really understanding your people isn't necessarily how you make a lot of money. When you see UX designers falling by the wayside and you see, business analysts and product managers and product owners losing their jobs, that's a clear sign.
It seems so backwards, though. right?
It,
Because like
yeah.
long term, if you take care of your
Yeah.
people and they're doing better themselves, they're happier, they're more productive, they're more fulfilled. Surely that's going to impact the bottom line a lot more than just replacing them for someone else because you don't want to deal with it.
Nobody wants to wait for that though, right?
Mm.
Nobody looks for the intangibles and nobody wants to wait for a grassroots employee campaign to take hold. But you're absolutely right. You take care of your people will take care of your clients.
Sure seems so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Christy, I mean, this is something that seems like everyone should know and realize, but it seems like maybe it's something that, you realized through your own journey as well. Was there a moment or an occurrence or, what really allowed you to realize that this is the way we need to move forwards when everyone else is focused on the other path?
Yeah, it was. I kept hearing the client wants this, the client wants that. Our goals this year are these three things. And I kept looking at what clients were telling me and going, yeah, but that's not what they need. Like our clients need something different than what you've set the corporate goal at. And they need something a little different than what they're saying. So we're not going to have any kind of client retention if we can't solve the problem, regardless of what they ask for. And yeah, I mean, it was at the point where I realized that we were just trying to make money and not solve a problem for somebody that I went, yeah, this is way off.
I mean, this doesn't make any sense, and I've said this already, but I mean, if you're looking at new businesses and entrepreneurs, you have to start by solving a problem. You can't start by making profit. So, as a corporation, getting to a point where you're just focused on making profit, not solving problems, I mean, it seems like people are spelling out their own demise ultimately.
Right. And I think, there's a huge difference between what goes on at an executive level and what goes on at the ground level and the people actually doing the work. And I think executives tend to not think as much about it, right? Because, and I get it, a CEO's job or a COO's job or a CFO's job is to look at that bigger picture. They
Mm.
have to know the company's financial health at all times. I totally understand that. But when we work with people around strategy, yes, that's there. But how do we get there without focusing on it?
Mm.
One of the things we always tell our clients is, if you focus on chasing money, if you chase the money, you're always going to chase money. If you focus on a passion, a problem, the income's going to come. It's just where
Absolutely.
your focus is at.
Yeah. So on people and purpose before profit is what led you to what you're doing now. Can you tell us a little bit more about open concept and what it is that you're actually doing with your clients?
Yeah, I mean, we run the gamut with our clients. Pretty much anything our clients need to solve the problems they're having, whether it's a startup, and we do a lot of business modeling and business strategy and business planning, and we take clients who have a business plan but they can't get an investment, and we look at their business plan and we go, well, 2 pages isn't going to cut it for a bank. So we have all of these other things that we need to fill in, and we look at it and we say, okay, well, what is your ideal customer? And they go, huh? Okay, well, then we need to go back to grassroots. And I was explaining this last night to somebody in a workshop we hosted. We don't walk in with a template and fill it out. We walk in with a huge business canvas, a canvas that has the business model canvas on it. And we sit down with a bunch of sticky notes and a bunch of markers, and we go grassroots and we figure it out every step of the way. And then from there, everything else is kind of common sense.
Well, I mean, it seems like it should be common sense, but I think we've already identified that there's a lack of common sense in most businesses today.
It's
Chrissy,
true.
do you have a story that you could share with us about how you came in and helped a client, maybe an established business already rather than a startup entrepreneur? You came in and you helped them shift that focus to purpose and to people and the profit that maybe came as a result.
Sure. Yeah, we have a few of those. But we had one person, and she was probably, I don't know, I'm going to say $3 or $4 million a year, so not huge, right? But she was still turning a good profit. She had 35 employees, I believe, and she couldn't figure out how to expand her business, right? She's on the shoreline in Connecticut where I live, and she wanted to be, further down the shoreline this way and further up the shoreline that way, and she couldn't find her way to do that. And when it came down to it, we actually did dissect her business. We went back to the business model canvas because she had never done it. She had never, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there are 9 things on that canvas. They're the 9 building blocks of your business. And if one of them's missing, your little tower is going to start to lean. And we went back and figured those out and realized that all of her decision making was being made on false presumptions. So what she thought she had as a cost structure wasn't accurate, even though she did income and expense statements, did all the annual reports, but she had as a cost structure wasn't actually accurate. So for her to make a decision to open up a new office, that wasn't going to work. And she didn't have all of her target market identified. She was very narrow. And so anything that went out that she did, she had a great marketing plan, but she didn't have the right target market. So if you sit down with somebody and you lay out all the other aspects of their business, a couple of things that people usually do is go, oh, wait. Yeah, I could do this too. It's the same thing, only it's for a different group or age range, which was her thing, right? Yeah, this applies to kids as well. And we're not marketing it at all to kids. We don't serve kids, but we could. Why not? And they're key partners. Like, people don't think about, who can I partner with? If I just partner with a couple of doctors' offices, therapist offices, this is a go. Let's do it.
Sounds like one of the things you came in and helped this client do is really be able to differentiate the forest from the trees, right? To be able to actually see through and, what am I really looking at? Seems that a lot of business owners today, maybe it's because they're juggling so many things, especially for smaller companies, are often in that position where they're so focused on what's immediately in front of their face, they're missing the bigger picture. Is that something that you see?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Founders tend to wear way too many hats. And especially in early stages, they're afraid to bring people on to do some of it. Some of it is a control thing. They don't want to let go. They don't want to let go of doing the product management, right? They know what the product's supposed to be. Do they really? Because they're trying to figure that out and secure investment from investors and decide what technology stack it should run on and figure out how we're going to scale this in the future and figure out how AI gets incorporated. No. If you focus on everything, you focus on nothing. So you go focus on the things a founder's supposed to do. Right? And all of that will go much better and bring in the people you need to focus on the execution.
So working with this one client, you went back to the basics, you went to the business canvas, and you helped her really get a clear picture and idea of where she was at so she could move forwards. But once that was done, what actually happened for her?
In the following 9 months, she doubled her income and opened her new office.
9 months. Doubled her income.
That's how rich. There were 2 additional target markets we found. One was children and one was a different segment, but she doubled her income in 9 months because we just started marketing it to the right people and working with the right partners.
That's pretty profound. Just the impact that can be had in such a short period of time by, going back to the basics, right? Looking at the footwork, what's most fundamental, what's most important, what can free up your time and your focus to really be able to move that impact and that purpose forwards in a greater way. Kristy, what you were able to do with that client is incredible, right? A lot of listeners are probably like, I can do that with my clients. I want to do that with my clients. I have done that with my clients, but it's so hard to get clients today, right? Client acquisition has become a ridiculous situation with the noise and the saturation and the junk, everything that's out there. So for yourself at Open Concept, when it comes to attracting and targeting and acquiring more clients like this, who you can have such an incredible impact with, what are you finding the most success with to secure the right people?
We get a lot of repeat business, word of mouth, referral, right? So, and we're small. It is me, my son, and my husband. My husband is part-time because he has a day job. So it's really just my son and I. So we're pretty selective about the clients that we take and how many we take at once, right? But yeah, I think the thing that works the best for us outside of just having a good reputation and building it word of mouth, is really understanding who we want to target. And we're just going through this exercise. We have a workshop that we've run in pilot a couple times now with small groups, and we're ready to move it into corporate HRs, right? And so we've done a lot of research around what kind of company do we want to be in. We need to be in a company that invests in its employees, that has a lot of employee satisfaction, low turnover. They set aside money for professional development. So that was where we went first. And then we did some more research. It's really just researching your target market, knowing what they need, knowing what their problems are, knowing what your cost point needs to be, and getting in front of them. And AI can do some of that, but it's also a labor of love.
Absolutely. Getting in front of the right people, I think that is the key and the most important thing, but it can be increasingly difficult, right? Especially for consultants who do very specific things or have very specific and unique processes that perhaps the market doesn't really understand. They end up getting bundled in with other people and really not understood, making, just adding to the problem in general. But For yourselves, when you're looking at, scaling and growth opportunities, right now we could say you're a boutique company, right? It's a small team having profound impact. What are the biggest challenges that you're observing in today's market to really be able to grow a little bit more predictably beyond referrals, right? Because this is a situation that many people want to get out of.
I mean, I think the best way for people to do that is to really understand where they're going, have a plan, know what you want to be. People laugh when we walk into a room and we say, has anybody ever heard of SMART goals? And everybody laughs and goes, well, yeah, yeah, of course, Okay, what are your SMART goals this year? And everybody looks at each other like, well, we don't actually have them. Okay, how about if we start with a goal? Well, I don't know what goals to set. Well, why don't you know what goals to set? Well, I don't know. Well, where's your corporate strategy? Where's your corporate strategic plan? Like, what are your corporate goals for the year? Before your employees can set goals, you need to have corporate goals. What are they for this year? Well, we want to increase revenue. So does everybody. No, really, what are your real goals? Like, what are your measurable, actionable?
You're not likely to hit a target if you're shooting with your eyes closed, right?
Right, and not aiming at a target.
You need a target as well. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to plan the work and then work the plan, right? Without a plan, without a target, without a clear direction that you're going, you're not going to get anywhere, and you probably just end up going in circles, right?
People usually misunderstand that, right? Because they think, I've got a strategy. Okay, good, let's go do it. Okay, step one, like by when? Which piece? What are you focusing on first? Who's doing it?
What do you think leads to this? The fact that people don't even understand, perhaps haven't even clarified their own goals, especially with companies who want to achieve incredible profit and revenue. Why, in your experience, do people not even have clarity on those things?
I think they're moving too fast. I think a lot of people chase the shiny object, right? Something comes along and they go, that could make me a lot of money. Well, it could, but what's it going to cost you? And I think people don't think that way. People don't think about the opportunity cost of pursuing a new product or a new line of business or a new market, right? There's an opportunity cost to everything you do. I think people don't actually think through some of those decisions, right? I think a lot of people now, there's templates everywhere. This has all happened in my career where the internet became so popular, right? And everything is out there. You can find anything. You can find a template for a business plan. Sure, go ahead, go out and populate that template. But how much thought are you really putting into that template when you populate it? We just, in this workshop we did last night, we asked very simple questions of people and they really struggled. One of the questions that we asked was, what's one thing that if you achieve that in 2026 will make a marked impact on your business? And do you know they sat there for probably 5 minutes without even writing? And I was really surprised.
Wow.
People tend to work in their business and not on their business, especially when you get into that lower end of the SMB market. And even sometimes the end of SMB, people work in the business and they don't necessarily work on the business. And that's the same problem with the founders who think they can do product development and they can go code something at night and they can do the architecture and they can go set up, Google Cloud Platform or whatever.
Yeah. It's a real problem. And I mean, even just for people listening who are thinking that, hey, maybe I'm a small company, I'm a solopreneur, right? At times as well, it's not just the business, but you are the business. You have to be able to work on yourself, not just keep yourself busy, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, Kristy, we're talking growth, we're talking strategy, intentionality. You mentioned AI a minute ago as well as part of your strategy today, how effective it can be with marketing. Where does AI start to come into play as part of your growth strategy when it comes to targeting, attracting the right type of clients, and just being able to be more effective with what you're doing?
For us, AI is a huge thought partner. The one mistake I think people make, and it's all over LinkedIn, is they put something in AI and say, write me a marketing plan. And Claude or ChatGPT, they're great at it. They go out and they write your marketing plan. It might actually be a decent marketing plan. Then you say, write me the content. And then it goes and writes the content. And every time you see an M dash, that's AI. And you can go out on LinkedIn and you can count the M dashes until you're blue in the face. People think AI is going to do the job for them, and it is not. AI is going to help you. You have to push back on it, just like you'd push back on anything. In fact, right before this call, I was working with ChatGPT because I wanted to give me a weekly prep briefing so I know on a Friday morning what I need to focus on for the next 8 days to get me to the next Friday. And so we had these arguments and I'm like, you're still looking at last week. Stop, completely redo this. you have to push back on it, right? You have to talk to it like it's the guy in the next cube. And I keep saying this and people laugh at me. It's the guy in the next cube. Claude is just the guy in the next cube. Not going to do it all for you, but he's a great guy to bounce things off of. We do it when we create workshops. We do it when we create seminars. We do it when we do our own marketing content. But don't let it do it for you. Be a part of the process. If you completely eliminate the human from the loop, then AI is just doing everything and it all sounds the same.
Couldn't agree more, especially with the fact that most LLMs, AI platforms, ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, whatever you're using, inherently, they're set up to be agreeable, right? So you'll say, this is my idea, or this is what I'm going to do. And they'll say, great idea. This is fantastic. No, you need to work into your prompts. You will not be agreeable. You will challenge my thinking and you will support me as a growth partner. You will collaborate with me to achieve the best possible outcome, not the easiest possible solution. Add something like that into your prompt and you'll see how far it can take you.
Absolutely. And if you haven't learned how to write a prompt, you shouldn't be using the LLMs.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people are banging their heads against the walls just trying to chat to the LLMs like they're a friend, like they're a person. Yes, it's common language that you can use within it, but it's still a computer program at the end of the day. Learn about prompting, the structures, and as well as the delivery so that you can get the right output, right? It will enhance everything that you're doing.
Absolutely.
Kristy, you mentioned a moment ago the human element as part of business. A lot of people are using AI. A lot of people are starting to lose sight or lose focus on the human element. Kristy, as you integrate more AI deeply into your business strategies, what are your thoughts on the boundaries of AI, especially when it comes to maintaining the crucial human connection in relationships?
I think you use AI for administrative work, but I think you always have to bring the human perspective. I know a lot of people out there turn off the don't use my data for training unless you have sensitive client data, which I would be wary about putting in AI at all.
Yes.
But leave that training button on and talk to AI as though it is the guy in the next cube. Because the more you train the AI with your own personality, the more the person next to you does the same thing, and the more everybody starts to do that, AI starts to actually feel and function like a person. If all you do is continue to say to ChatGPT, you're wrong, do it over again. No, that's not right. What are you thinking? Okay, you're just stupid. And I've had people tell me they do that.
It's like beating a dog when it's not learning. It's not the dog's fault. You need to be able to train it appropriately, right? It's not a human. It's not going to think in the same way or be able to be able to process, especially emotion or reasoning in the same way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Train it the way you want it to behave.
Kristy, your story covers corporate leadership, entrepreneurial pivots, and a deep commitment to human-centered problem solving. For the growth-minded listeners who are navigating their own growth shift, what's the single most important piece of advice that you'd leave them with about building a business that truly serves both people and profit?
It would be make sure that you are focusing on a problem and how it impacts a person, and make sure that that problem is something somebody's going to pay to solve. You can have a great idea and you can have a great fix for it, but if it's something I have a real easy workaround for, likely not to pay for it. So people often overlook product. It's a buzzword, product market fit, but if nobody's going to pay, and again, if you're just starting your business, your value proposition square on that business model canvas is going to tell you, do I have something somebody's willing to pay for? And if you do,
one of the best ways to find out if someone's going to pay for it is go ask people, right? Even if it's just strangers on social media. Hey, great to connect. I'm thinking of starting a business. Is this a product or a service that you would use or you would find valuable? Do you know anyone who would? Actually validate those ideas before you pour time and money into them.
And I would go a step further, because if you ask people if they would use it, everybody's going to say, oh yeah, I'd probably use that. Ask them what they want to pay for it.
Yes.
If I had this and I could give it to you today, what would you pay for it?
Profound. Kristy, thank you so much for sharing your story and your insights with the audience today. For anyone listening who might like to learn more about what you're doing or even to just continue the conversation, what would be the best way to find you?
You can find us online at www.openconceptsi.com, or you can email me at Kristy, Kristy, at openconceptsi.com.
Thanks again for joining us today on The Growth Shift.
Thanks so much, David.
Another powerful conversation on the growth shift. If you, like our guests, are ready to turn your expertise into a predictable, scalable growth engine, one that eliminates the grind of prospecting and enhances your high-value relationships, then it's time to connect with Valentix. We are not a marketing agency. We are your strategic growth partner, building intelligent systems that ensure your client acquisition is predictable, not dependent on chance. To see how our AI-powered frameworks can free up your time and fill your calendar with decision makers, visit valentix.io. Thank you for joining us on The Growth Shift. We'll see you next time.